Okay, so when you hear the word commandment, what's the first thing that pops into your head? For a lot of us, it's this heavy, kind of burdensome thing, right? A strict list of don'ts. But what if that's only half the story? In this explainer, we're going to dive into a text from the Gospel of John that completely flips that idea on its head. It presents commandments not as restrictions, but as a direct roadmap to inner peace.
And this slide really nails the two competing ideas. On the one hand, we often feel the weight of commandments, like we're lugging around this heavy burden. But the text we're looking at today, it offers something completely different, a roadmap to peace. The whole idea is that these instructions aren't meant to box us in, they're designed to guide us toward a healthier, more peaceful state of mind.
So, what is this path? Well, what's so fascinating here is that the source text boils everything, all the rules, all the expectations, down into one core commandment. It's a single, super powerful instruction that becomes the foundation for absolutely everything else.
And here it is. I give you a new commandment, love one another. This wasn't just another rule to tack onto the list. The source presents this as a replacement for the old way of doing things. According to this ancient wisdom, this one simple direct instruction is the absolute defining mark of a healthy life. That's incredibly profound.
Okay, so how do you actually do that? How do you love one another? Well, the text gives us some practical how-tos for our inner world. It all starts with believe, which builds that foundation of trust. Then, it tells us to remain united, which suggests this continuous, active connection. And the result of doing this is pretty powerful. It completely shifts the dynamic from, say, a master and a servant to one of friendship and real partnership.
That's a beautiful idea, for sure, but how do we actually apply it when life gets messy and chaotic? Well, this is where this ancient text gets surprisingly modern. It actually offers what we can look at as 3 psychological tips for putting this wisdom into practice in our lives today.
So here's the game plan the text lays out for us. It's a 3-step process. Step 1, regulate your anxiety through faith. Step 2, shift your focus to prosocial giving. And step 3, practice what the source calls radical remaining. All right, let's break each one of these down.
First up, regulating anxiety. I mean, in a world that often feels like it's dialed up to 11, this is so relevant it's not even funny. The source doesn't just suggest we feel less anxious, it actually presents it as a direct command, a call to actively manage our emotional state.
The text is super direct about this. Do not be worried and upset. Do not be afraid. Now, if you look at this through a modern psychological lens, it's a straight-up call for emotional regulation. It's an instruction to actively push back against those currents of fear and worry that can so easily just sweep us away.
But how is that even possible, right? Well, when the text says, believe in God and believe also in me, it's essentially offering what modern psychologists call a secure base. Think of it like this. A secure base is a relationship that gives us the safety and confidence we need to go out and face the world's challenges. That simple instruction to believe is the key to building that internal stability.
All right, the second tip involves a pretty radical shift in focus. Instead of being totally consumed with our own protection and our own needs, the text points us outward. This is the love one another command in action.
And there's a huge psychological payoff here. We know that chronic self-focus, just being stuck in your own head all the time, is a known pathway to depression and anxiety. So when the text instructs followers to take care of my sheep, which is a metaphor for helping and serving other people, it's handing us a powerful antidote. By focusing on helping others, we break that cycle of inward-facing worry and find a much greater sense of purpose.
And that brings us to our third psychological tip, what the text calls radical remaining. This is all about the difference between, say, battling a storm all by yourself and being securely connected to a source of strength that can't be moved. It's about drawing power from that connection, not just from your own grit and effort.
The text uses this really powerful metaphor of a vine and its branches to paint a picture of this. Remain in my love. You cannot bear fruit unless you remain attached to me. See, this isn't about striving harder or trying to produce more. It's about staying connected. The practical takeaway here is to build some kind of daily ritual. Maybe it's prayer or reading or just some quiet reflection that prioritizes that connection above simply getting results.
So we have this one core commandment to love and 3 really practical ways to live it out. But why? What's the ultimate point of all this? Is it just about being a good person? Well, the text gives a very specific and maybe even surprising answer.
This is a reason. I have told you this so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete.
Get this, the entire purpose of these commandments isn't restriction or control. The stated goal is joy, a full, complete, and resilient kind of joy.
So what is this complete joy? It's described as a life in all its fullness. It's the natural result, the outcome of regulating our anxiety, of looking outward to others, and of staying connected to a source of love. This is the ultimate destination on that roadmap we've been talking about.
So this brings this whole big idea down to a single, practical question for our daily lives. This isn't about some massive, overnight life overhaul. It's about small, deliberate choices. So let me leave you with this. What is one small act of love you can do today to start walking this path toward a more complete joy?